So, here we go, guys. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a video. I don't really know what I'm going to call this video. It's just going to be my opinion on the latest announcement that Creative Assembly are in fact going to be releasing another DLC. We've had so many of them lately and we have another one to talk about. So before we get into the meat of this video, let's just go over a few things first of all. Attila came out, pretty decent release, pretty happy with it. The AI has improved, the graphics pretty much the same as Rome 2, but they're good. And yeah, not too much to complain about as far as release goes. There are some things which can be optimized and changed, but other than that, I was pretty happy. However, we did have the DLC, the day one DLC of the Viking Forefathers, which to be honest is a bit of a piss take because, if you're somebody that really loves Vikings and you want to play as a Viking faction, then you're forced to pre-order. If you want to go down that road and buy this game. And day one DLC, we had it with Rome 2, and it looks like they're just going to keep this going now. So I imagine when they do finally officially announce Total War Warhammer and they release that game in a few years' time, they'll most probably do the same thing then. They'll have a day one DLC with the Dark Elves or the Skavens or whatever, and it'll be exactly the same thing again. So unfortunately, it's bad business practice in my opinion, but unfortunately, it's something which isn't going to go away. So we had that with the first DLC that was released with Attila. Then probably what was it, a week, 2 weeks at the most, they announced the next DLC, which of course was the Longbeards. Very creative name in my opinion. Anyway, they announced the Longbeards DLC, and the Longbeards, which, let's be honest, I mean, before we go into this, the Longbeards DLC, do you think that's a bit stereotypical, a name for a DLC? I mean, they they need to rename their things. They're getting really bad at naming things. I call this the George Lucas effect. It's like with George Lucas when he did the prequel films for Star Wars. It's like, oh, what should I call the second film? Oh, I'll call it Attack of the Clones. And it's like, well, couldn't you call it something like Shroud of the Dark Side or something? Because that answers the kind of synopsis of the film better than Attack of the Clones. And Creative Assembly doing the same thing. It's like, oh, what should we call the Punic Wars DLC for Rome 2? Hannibal at the Gates, because Hannibal is at the gates of Rome. And then you had the same thing then. Oh, Caesar's campaign in Gaul. And fighting Vercingetorix and all the tribes of Gaul. What should we call it? Caesar in Gaul. And it, okay, I'm going a bit too far now. I'm taking the piss a little bit too much and too freely. But my point still stands. I mean, they could rename things better. The Longbeards being stereotypical, it's just like, well, oh, all Germanic fighters had long beards, so we call it the Longbeards DLC. Well, not all Germans had big black and grey and brown long beards. A lot of them did, most probably, but not all of them. But I'm just being nitpicky at the moment. But yeah, Longbeards DLC that was announced. There was controversy over that because that would have been a free DLC if Creative Assembly hadn't lost to the Company of Heroes guys in the Make War Not Love event that they were doing, which had its own controversy as well, from my understanding. I don't know too much about it, but reading between the lines and reading a few things online, what happened there was that the Company of Heroes guys, they had some sort of advantage, and some people say it was an unfair advantage or something. I don't know too much about it, from my point of view, but obviously Creative Assembly lost that competition, which meant that the DLC for the Longbeards wasn't going to be free. Well, if there's an option for it to be free, why doesn't it just be free anyway? Why do you have to charge for that DLC? At the end of the day, you're in control of your own content and your own material, and it's up to you as a business. But of course, I'm saying that now. It's probably not up to them. It's probably up to Sega. But there we go. It's just the way things go sometimes. But anyway, they were the first two DLCs. Lots of lots of people didn't like it. I would rather them focus more on gameplay, optimizing the game a bit more, because especially multiplayer, because I've had quite a few crashes on multiplayer, quite a few problems in online battles as well, especially with co-op campaigns with Lord Rex or so and Kassam 187. So that's something I think they should definitely try and work towards, and also balancing the game. The morale system has got to be sorted out, because I think that's a big thing at the moment. I understand losing a general, you will probably, your army would have a morale debuff, it would decrease, but for everybody just to kind of rout flat out, because that's what's happening at the moment in my Let's Plays. Literally, my general gets his head cut off, and everyone just legs it, and it could be better balanced. I mean, it's happening in occasions when I actually fought a battle the other day, funnily enough. I lost my general, but I had the enemy outnumbered, and I had them surrounded with onagers on either flank, and I was pumping them with explosive rounds, just boom, 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 killing them in the hundreds, and literally my general got wiped out in a skirmish, and all my men just ran from the battle, and it was like, whoa, what on earth is this? Why is that happening? So definitely need to improve on things like that. But anyway, bringing my point forward now, we have this new DLC which has been announced. Now, I've brought up the information on the screen, which I'm going to just read to you by here. So it's going to be the Britannic Isles DLC, or Celtic Invasion. I don't know what it's actually called, but it's going to be the Celtic tribes. Now we have the Ebdanians, which of course start off in Ireland. We have the Caledonians, which of course are in Scotland, and the Picts, which of course are also in Scotland. So we've got 2 Scottish-based tribes and 1 Irish-based tribe. Now, they don't really appeal to me. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. It's nice to play as a smaller faction in that region, because, you've just got the Western Roman Empire in Britain. You don't actually have another playable faction, and playing as the Western Roman Empire is hard work, and I suppose it's nice to start off as a single-based, one single settlement faction rather than a big faction with 40 plus settlements. But they copy and pasted. The problem they've got with this time period, and especially the culture pack DLCs that they've announced so far, you've got factions which are basically copy and paste. You have the Saxons, and they'll have axemen, they'll have spearmen, they'll have levy freemen, they'll have those kind of units, they'll have bow units, they'll have your basic kind of light cavalry, that sort of thing. The Franks will also have similar units, bar 1 or 2 difference. They have better cavalry, I think. You've then got the Ebdanians and the Caledonians and the Picts, and they're going to have the same thing. Of course, you're going to have your woad warriors with your blue faces and stuff. It's basically Iceni 2.0. That's what you're getting. You're getting Iceni 2.0 in Tiller, and it's not really adding much to the game. Before the game was released, if someone had said to me, which faction do you want to play as the most, none of these factions would be there. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. They're releasing factions now. They're pumping these culture packs out. And okay, fair enough. 3 DLCs, 9 new playable factions on top of the 8 which you already start with. You've currently, if you buy all the DLCs, you've currently got a situation where you have about 17 playable factions. That's quite a lot of playable factions for a strategy game. But it's too much. That's the thing. I mean, 3 British tribes, 1 tribe would have been enough, because the other 2 were going to offer the same thing. With the Longbeards, 1 faction would have been enough, because the other 3 pretty much offer the same thing. And it's just the same thing over and over again. On another topic, blood packs. There's no blood pack at the moment. I already don't like blood packs. The fact that this is a real-time, historically based strategy game, which is rated 16. Quite a lot of games which are rated 16 have blood in it, have violence and stuff. This game's already got violence in it. It has, at the end of the day, you have a sharp object and trying to kill the guy in front of you. That's what these games are, basically. If you look at it, if you analyse it, that's what it is. It's men killing men, or sometimes women, if you have the women in your ranks. Okay, so why is it that there's no blood pack in this game? They seem to have delayed it. I mean, in the past games, Shogun 2 for example, and Rome 2, I'm pretty sure they were out by now, so I don't know why they delayed. There's no movement on Creative Assembly's part at the moment, so just gonna have to wait and see what actually happens. But yeah, there we have it. So I think I'm going to end this video here before I just ramble for ages and ages. What do you guys think of this latest DLC? What do you think of the current DLC which has been released by Creative Assembly? And are you going to buy any of these DLCs? Have you played any of these existing DLCs? And will you be supporting Total War Attila in the future DLCs? Leave your comments below. I've been Dragonheart, the Prince of Wales. Thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.